Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. I'm first going to give you a couple of programming notes here. By the time this video is out, probably, I will have done an interview in Spanish for the Spanish OSR gaming video channel, Runas Explosivas. Probably. Last time it got cancelled because of personal emergencies of the interviewer. We'll see if it happens this time. So anyways, if you're a Spanish listener and you want to, you should really check that out. If it's already come out by the time I upload this, I'll have included the link in the description. If not, just keep an eye open for that in my social media. Second, there's a chance, I don't want to promise anyone, but there's a chance I might do a live stream on Saturday because my Lords of Olympus game was cancelled that day. So if I'm feeling up to it, that might be what I do instead of running a game. So check it out. Maybe I'll talk about like my different campaigns and what I run there. But anyway, today I was going to talk about the question of making a game for kids. And, you know, this has become a very popular subject lately. There's been a couple of these games that are supposedly made for kids, you know, No Thank You Evil and Kids on Bikes or something. No, I don't know if that's actually that. I think that's a sort of retro nostalgia, Stranger Things thing, which is another whole problem, you know, something that really that we shouldn't be encouraging, frankly. You know, the last thing we need is hipster games that are full of nostalgia, that are really just rip-offs of TV shows from Netflix full of nostalgia, right? But do you remember when you were a kid? I don't know when you started gaming, right? I started gaming fairly young. I was not super duper young, but I was about 11 years old, 11 and a half, let's say. And you know, I dove right in. And so it seems really weird to me that we have people making these rule sets. First of all, that presume parents are going to be the ones playing games with their kids, right? Like, that is the last thing I would have wanted. That would have made it the least possible cool of anything in the world, was to be playing D&D with parents, you know? So, I think that, okay, let's say that that's not the case necessarily now, right? Let's say that right now you're listening to this and you have a kid that's like bordering the age of reason, and so you want to try to make them play D&D with you or something, or play one of these games for little kids with you. I'm going to try to make the argument for why you shouldn't, right? And let's assume that you're the coolest dad in the world. I'm sure you think you are, or mom, and I'm sure you think you are. But the fact is that, let's say, even if it was the most ideal situation, I think something is lost by having the RPG playing experience be something that happens under parental supervision, and in fact under parental control, maybe even in a literal sense. Now, I know a lot of people have some really great stories about this. One of my players recently talked about how he presented the D&D basic set to his nieces and nephews, and they were crazy about it. But that's a little bit different, because when it's an uncle, that's, you know, there's a different dynamic there. Uncles and aunts are to a certain degree meant to turn you on to stuff that is cooler than what your parents are into, right? Like that sort of fits the correct role of society, right? Your mom and dad are not the ones that are supposed to usually be doing that, right? They're supposed to be doing the opposite, sort of. And so, yes, I'm suggesting that it is dangerous for the social fabric for you to be trying to get your kids to game with you. But if you are, all right, let's start with the first point, which is that you do not need games that are made for kids, right? If a child is so young that they can't understand the rules of D&D, they shouldn't be playing role-playing games at all. If you really are going to make them play role-playing games, instead of just playing make-believes, like, they don't really, I don't think they want to play the game with you. They would love to play make-believe with you, and I'm sure that that's fine and good and wholesome and cool, because at that young age, there could be nothing better than for them to be playing make-believe with mom or dad. right? So stop being selfish. Stop trying to make it about you by making it into a role-playing game, and just play make-believe with them, right? Play Barbies or play action figures or whatever, and you know, make it about them, not about satisfying the fact that you can't get a regular gaming group together or something like that. So that's step one. Step two, if a child is old enough to understand the D&D rules, they don't need a different game, right? This idea, like, this is one of the problems that as part of the idea of parents getting their kids to play D&D with them, they're also going to bowdlerize them and sanitize them, right? The awesome thing about D&D, discovering it when you were 11 or 12 or 13 years old, was that it had, like, you know, monsters and badass spells and swords with runes on them and artwork that featured occasional nudity in the DMG. All this stuff that you realized at some level was kind of naughty and dangerous. And if you turn that around into, like, playing this Kickstarter-made game featuring cutesy-poo art and writing by Shanna Germain, and everything is completely sanitized and there's nothing that is scary, then you have ruined that experience for your kids, right? So you don't want to put them in that position where what you're doing is creating, and let's say even if you're like the funnest DM in the world and they're going to really enjoy it when they're 7 or 8 or 9, by the time they're 12, they'll think it's unbelievably lame and will probably be turned off all gaming forever. Whereas if you left them the hell alone, or even better yet, told them, you're too little to play this right now, but later if you want you can ask again and then I'll let you. That's the best possible thing you could do. Hey, hi cat. Don't try to make your cats play D&D either, or show up in your D&D videos. See, I don't do that. I let my cats come when they want to. If they want to show up in the video or just want to show off their asses in the video, then I will. You know? Yeah. Yeah, she's allowed to be on the video, but I'm not going to force her to be. I'm not going to hold her in place or make her or trick her into coming onto it. And it should be the same with your kids. There, she jumped. With your kids and D&D, right? It shouldn't be you that manipulates your children into playing your D&D games for you. You should be trying to get them to the point where they're going to discover D&D for themselves in their own way, with their own groups, with their own friends. Now, when you're old enough to learn D&D, you don't need some kind of ridiculous sanitized version of it, right, that doesn't have any of the naughty bits, because that's the whole point of the D&D experience. Part of what makes it so cool is that it's like one of the first sort of adult things you're exposed to, right? It's like you go, let's say if you were a kid of the 80s, right, you went from stuff like, you know, He-Man and G.I. Joe or something like that, where it was like, it looked kind of cool, but there was no, like, nobody actually ever died in it, right? In G.I. Joe, ships exploded and everybody jumped off in parachutes, it was completely sanitized, right? To this game where you were going around freaking killing things and risking getting killed, right? Where the art and the style was kind of similar to maybe comics you had read or animation you'd seen, but it was on a whole slightly higher tier of maturity, right? There wasn't anything X-rated, there wasn't really any really gory violence in the AD&D art, but it was just that little bit more that made it into a kind of a step towards adulthood, right? It made it made it a rite of passage, okay? And so you want to let your kids, if you're a gamer dad, get to that for themselves, in my opinion, right? I think that it's really important. Now, at some point, maybe you're the only person they know who games, and so they're going to ask to game with you, and that's a different story, right? If you get to the point where the kid is 9, 10, 11 years old enough that they can know the rules, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Any kid at that age will be old enough to know the rules, right? The only time I ever ran a game with a kid was my DCC campaign, like with a preteen, so to say. That this kid was 9 years old when he started. His dad was playing with us and he wanted to join, right? And we decided to give him a try. And he turned out to be freaking awesome, right? He was really good at it. And he knew the rules better than his dad did, right? like almost immediately, right? He just devoured the rules. Because when you're at that age, you really, you know, when you get to be my age, you don't want really complex rules, right? But when you're 11 or 12, oh my God, you want the most complicated rules you can imagine. You want to master them, right? Like you want to learn how to figure out all the rules and the exceptions and stuff. That's why Magic the Gathering is so popular, because of, you know, these tricky combos you can do, or other games like that, right? Like kids at that preteen age have the brain power that they're going to really enjoy system mastery. And so if you're making them, you're like, you know, the idiots that write these games are like, no, because that's too hard for kids. We have to do like this really simple dice mechanic, and then everything else will just be storytelling. That's the opposite of what any pre-adolescent is going to want. The absolute opposite. You know, it's just going to, that shows a complete lack of understanding at every level. You know, like I don't understand it. I don't know why they would do such a thing. But anyway, so that's the key to it. And then, like, you want to really help your kid enjoy D&D. Get them their own game books and let them run for their friends, right? And then see, maybe they'll invite you to play, right? And then you could be allowed to. Just like, you know, if you wait until they're old enough to ask for themselves with their own free will and accord, that nobody is manipulating them into it. Like, you know, the first time your kid asks you, the right answer for you should be, I'm sorry, you're not old enough yet, but ask us again later if you still want to. And then if they ask you a second time, well, then maybe you can let them try, right? But the point is, make them want it. Don't let them end up thinking back with a revised history in their minds, or maybe the completely accurate history, in fact, that you forced them basically to play, and that it was sort of fun back then, but it's a baby game because you made it into a baby game, and you also made it into a game that was about you and not about them, right? So that's some basic family counseling. This has been Dr. Jordan Peterson. No, sorry, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And if you like this video, please share it everywhere. And hit the subscribe, the like button, hit the notification bell because you want to know when I'm doing my next live stream and stuff like that. And if you want to support me, there's a Patreon and a PayPal button in the description below, but I would suggest you might want to support me by purchasing one of my products, either one of my games like Lion and Dragon, or one of my PDF series from the RPG Pundit Presents PDF series that you will find again on the link below. And these are products that all range in price from, I think, $1.99 to, well, from 99 cents actually to about $4.99. And they're all OSR products that you can adapt to. Quite a few of them you can adapt to almost any game, but most of them you can adapt to any, you know, D&D variant. And they have stuff ranging from medieval authentic to weird fantasy. So the point is, you're giving me a tip and you're getting something back in return. And the more that you help me out, the more that I'm going to do more videos. I'm going to have the energy and the effort to make more live streams and all sorts of stuff like that. So be sure to check out the RPG Pundit Presents series. For those of you, by the way, who are waiting for the compilation for the OSR Companion Medieval Authentic Guide, it's coming. It's coming really soon. We've had some delays. I talked about it, I think, in my live stream the other day. There's been a change of company. It's all good, but it just made it a little bit of a delay. But then it's gonna come out really soon, like any time now. So it's kind of depending on when Drive-Thru gets their act together, I think. I don't know. I'll have to talk to my new editor about that, but we'll see. Okay, so that's everything for today. And thank you very much. And again, please share. Take care, everyone. Currently smoking. Nerup, Poker, plus Blue Boar.